Hello everyone and welcome back to another AVR120 video. We're going to be going over out parameters and reference parameters and returning multiple pieces of data from a method. So the way out parameters work are that they return multiple pieces of data from a method. And this is indicated by using the out keyword. Out The out variables need to be declared but not necessarily initialized outside of the method you're passing it into, and out parameters must have their values set inside of the method. So kind of going back to the code here, we can so back at the top of the code here, for readability purposes, I'm just going to kind of start commenting out some of the methods here. So I'll go ahead and comment this one out here. And in the adventurer greeting method, I'm actually going to go down to it, um, go to implementation, and after the return adventure name, I'm going to write a console dot clear. This will clear out the console of any text that is currently on it. So actually, I'll need to do this before. That was the error I was getting. It said unreachable code, which means that when this return hits, remember what I said, it'll return you out of the method. So this will never get run. In fact, this doesn't get run either. So we'll go ahead and just actually delete that since we don't need it. We can kind of go back to the top here now and um, we can kind of see here that we've set up the kill players using out parameters. We can go ahead and run this. It'll say rich, yes, and I pretty much immediately die. It says you fall and your health is fallen below 0. The current value is 0. Um, what would you like to change your name to? Then it asked me for the next part, which is what I'd like to change my name to here. So can kind of probably just comment that out for now. And you can really use these methods kind of wherever now that you've set them up. And this will allow you to just like, if you want to have a name change at a certain point or to display the inventory at a certain point, you can kind of add that anywhere in the kind of choose your own adventure piece here. Okay, so the big thing to note about this kill players using out parameters, right, is that we use the dead message, which wasn't initialized. It's an empty string, not initialized to anything, right? And then, but we also use the player health. We passed that in, which was initialized. And when we printed off the message, if we scroll down one more time to where the method is, it sets the player health parameter to the 0, and then it writes the message and then also the player health parameter um, value, which was set to 0. And if we were to check this in this main method here, all right, when we get to this line, we'll see that the health should be set to 0. So go ahead and save, run this one more time. Rich's health is 0, right? So this line here was run in this section. And we can see that the health is 0. Okay, so the next thing we could do here is reference parameters. So it's another way to pass in and out multiple pieces of data. And instead of the out keyword, you use the ref keyword in much the same way. So it needs to be declared and initialized outside of the method. So we have to set it outside of the method. We can't just pass in like an empty string like we did before. And but the nice thing about the reference parameters is they do not need to have their values set inside of the called method. So um, you can use them for other purposes, like maybe you want to use them in an equation or something, or adding the value of a variable onto something else without needing to change it. Um, and set it to something different. Whereas with the the out parameters, they need to be set inside of this method. Like you could not have them not be set to a different value inside of this method. So here's an example of a method using out parameters. You have your integer data type player health set equal to 50. The bool player dead, the boolean player dead is set to false. And then we have the same thing, kill player using reference parameters. We have reference player health and reference player dead. And basically, once these gets called, you use the ref keyword here. In the parameter signature. Data type is int, player health parameter, reference Boolean data type, player dead parameter, and then the player health parameter adds 100, and then the player dead parameter gets set to true. Um, we can make another method here at the bottom, and we'll call it. And again, static is the access specifier. It doesn't need to be anything else other than that. Void, because we're not returning one piece of data and using the return keyword to do it. If you use the return keyword, that needs to be set to either a string or a float or an int. And then we'll also we'll make this method give the player additional health and gold. So I'll write health and gold, and we will pass in the player's health parameter and the player's gold parameter. And we'll just go ahead and add 10 to the player's health and 10 to the player's gold. So we'll go ahead and save that now. And I'm just going to copy this and I'll scroll all the way up. And we'll go ahead and call it underneath the kill players using out parameters. Oh, I fixed a typo, so that's why that wasn't working. And so we'll go ahead and use the ref keyword for player health and player gold. Oop. Need the ref keywords before each of these. Oh, and I think I'm getting an error because I have it on the wrong. Yeah, I made it an int and it needs to be a float data type. So it just points out that it's very specific, coding's very specific, but you can use these errors down here to kind of pinpoint where the issues are. And again, if you double click on an error, it'll tell you where it is. So we'll go ahead and save. And we can copy this line and let's move this. I'll go ahead and instead of player health, we can do player gold to print those. Um, and I'm actually going to copy this. And I'll put it before this method call just to illustrate that not this method call, after that method call. So I'm going to comment this out again so there's no confusion. So we're going to do the health in gold. So it should go into this program and then print this text off here and then um, go ahead and run the health in gold and add to the player's health and the player's gold. We go ahead and run this here. All right, so my health is 60, um, and oh yeah, I see the mistake here. So this needs to be gold. That also needs to be gold. And I'll do a console dot clear here too to make it a little bit more readable. So we'll go ahead and run that. So went ahead and added the console.readline right before the console.clear. So it will get cleared when I do that, and then the console.writeLine, adventure names, health is now. So just to indicate that the text is going to be a little bit different. So when we run this, we'll go ahead and see it'll ask for my name. I'll say yes, and it'll say my health is 60, my gold is 5.5, and it adds the 10. So now it's 70, and the gold is 15.5. So if we go to the implementation of this again, we'll see that it adds 10 to each. So that value is correct. So to kind of wrap up here, when to use value out and ref keywords. So basically pass without keywords when you need variable values outside of the called method to remain the same, and you want that while they may change in the called method, once back in the calling method, the pass variables values remain unchanged. Okay, so basically, like if you want to pass a variable and want to use it in a method, but then you don't really want to change its value. So um, the out variable is you should use it when you need to declare a variable, but not initialize it outside the called method. So maybe you have a value that hasn't been set to anything, or a variable that hasn't been set anything, and you want to set that in the out parameter. Um, and this is, again, the out parameters are used to return multiple values from a method. Um, but the catch is that you need to set the values for those variables that you're passing to the method, that the out variables, they need to be set inside of the method. Um, so they need to be they need to essentially be assigned a value when you are inside that method. Finally, we have the ref keyword, and this is when you need to declare and initialize variables outside of the called method. And this is used to return multiple values from a method and store them in variables. And unlike out parameters, it does not have to be set or changed inside the called method. So you could pass a variable that has the ref keyword in front of it, but not change the value of the variable inside of the method. Versus with the out variables, you have to have the values set inside of the method there. So and they're both used to return multiple sets of values. I think the reference is a little bit easier to use at times. Uh, this won't be you'll use it in different uh, applications, but in Unity you're not going to use it like a huge amount. Um, and this is just some more information regarding um, when to use what the important differences between the ref and the out keywords. So I'll go ahead and let you guys kind of review that on your own. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. We're gonna call the session here, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.